The film opens with Ruby Baker, a teenage girl, and her friends watching a horror film at the cinema. After the movie ends, one of the girls suggests they hang out somewhere else, but Ruby insists on going home, explaining that her parents believe she's asleep and she doesn't want to risk getting into trouble again. The next morning, Ruby is seen having breakfast with her parents and younger brother, Rhett, before heading off to school. She reunites with her friends there, and they make plans to hang out again later. That evening, Ruby's parents, David and Grace, are celebrating their 20th anniversary at a restaurant. Meanwhile, Ruby is out with her friends, who joke about how much her parents trust her, unaware that she secretly smokes, speeds, and attends parties. When Ruby returns home, she's startled to see police cars outside. Thinking her parents have reported her missing, she sprays on perfume to hide the scent of smoke. But when she enters the house, the officers inform her that her parents were in a fatal car crash. Ruby breaks down in grief. At the funeral, Rhett attempts to speak during the mass but is too emotional. We're then introduced to the family's close friends, Terry Glass and Dr. Aaron Glass, who offer heartfelt words and are soon appointed as the guardians of Ruby and Rhett. After the service, Uncle Jack approaches Ruby and offers his support. When Ruby asks why she hasn't seen him in years, he explains that he and her mother had a falling out and that he lives far away. Ruby thanks him and returns home. A wake is held at Ruby's house. Overwhelmed, she retreats to the kitchen for some solitude, but the family lawyer, Alvin Beglider, finds her. He informs her that her parents left them financially secure and that she and Rhett will be moving in with the Glasses. As the Glasses come in to console Ruby, Beglider discreetly hands her his business card before leaving. A few days later, Ruby and Rhett move to Malibu with Aaron and Terry, leaving their empty home behind. Upon arrival, they're stunned by the size and openness of the Glasses' modern, mostly glass mansion. While Aaron prepares dinner, Terry gives them a tour, introduces them to the housekeeper, and shows them the room they'll be sharing for now, much to their disappointment. Later that night, as Ruby walks into the hallway to change, she hears a noise and sees a shadow moving away. The next day, they begin attending their new public school. Ruby makes a joke to introduce herself to the class, but when asked why she moved to Malibu, things get awkward. Back at the house, the siblings find gifts waiting for them, new clothes for Ruby and various video game consoles for Rhett. Ruby later talks to her friend on the phone, complaining about how well-behaved the kids at school are and how restricted things are, like not being allowed to use pagers. Aaron overhears the conversation and later calls Ruby into the kitchen, advising her to have a more positive outlook on her new school. That night, Ruby dreams of her late mother and wakes up feeling distressed. She puts on a swimsuit and goes for a swim in the house pool. Terry, awakened by the noise, appears suddenly. He watches her for a moment as she gets out of the pool and then hands her a towel. He says that noise travels easily through the glass and announces he'll start setting the alarm at night. Swimming at night is now prohibited. In class another day, Ruby becomes emotional after watching a film about drunk driving, which brings up memories of her parents' accident. Later, during dinner, the Glasses ask her about driving lessons. Ruby, still upset, excuses herself and goes to the bathroom in search of painkillers. Aaron finds her there and tries to comfort her, but Ruby lies and says she's just on her period. Aaron leads her to her private bathroom, where Ruby notices a large stash of medications. Ruby takes one, not realizing it's more than just a mild pain reliever, and becomes unusually calm, even unaffected by Rhett's loud video games. Hours later, she wakes up to find Rhett asleep on the floor in front of the TV. She hears Aaron and Terry arguing and quietly goes to investigate. Terry quickly closes the curtains upon noticing her. Later, Terry invites Ruby to attend a movie premiere with him. He assures her she'll have time to finish her homework, so she agrees. However, instead of going to the premiere, Terry takes her to a restaurant. While eating, Terry reminisces about the day he first met the Bakers. Ruby seizes the moment to ask whether the argument from the previous night was about them. Terry assures her it wasn't. It was just the usual marital tension, adding that being married to Aaron can be isolating. When Ruby mentions that it's time for her to head to bed, Terry drives her back home. On the drive, he behaves recklessly and nearly crashes into another car. He suddenly stops and leans toward her in a creepy manner, then claims it was just to help her fasten her seatbelt. Upon returning home, Ruby finds Erin passed out in the living room after injecting herself. Disturbed by what she's witnessing, Ruby asks the housekeeper to drive her all the way from Malibu, and from there, she hitchhikes to meet Begleiter and share what she's uncovered. Begleiter cautions her that if things don't work out with the glasses, she and Rhett might become wards of the state. Ruby admits she was frightened, but pushed through because she believed Begleiter would help. When Ruby asks how much money her parents left them, he reveals it's $4 million. He then says he'll see what he can do. After Ruby leaves, he makes a phone call. That evening, after dinner, the glasses send Rhett away so they can speak to Ruby. They explain that Erin was giving herself insulin injections for diabetes the previous night. They plead with Ruby to trust them and mention she seemed uneasy around Terry. "Maybe I overreacted," Ruby replies. The next day, no one picks Ruby up from driving school, so she walks all the way to Terry's workplace, GDI. The receptionist tells her to wait, but Ruby sees Terry being threatened by loan sharks in the lounge. He is clearly frightened as one of them shoves him against the glass wall. Ruby decides to wait in the repair shop and is horrified to discover her parents' car. She doesn't have much time to investigate, though, because Terry arrives to take her home. During the drive, Ruby informs him the housekeeper didn't show up, so she had to find her own way to GDI. Terry reveals he fired the maid and says Erin was supposed to pick her up but got delayed at the hospital. When Ruby questions why he dismissed the housekeeper, Terry confesses he found out she drove Ruby without his permission, adding that it's their duty to be informed about everything. At dinner that night, Ruby notices Terry setting the house alarm and secretly jotting down the code. A few hours later, she pretends to be working on homework but is actually reading an online article about her parents' crash, which mentions a mismatched vehicle. She sends an email to Begleiter to ask about it. Falling asleep at the computer, she's found by Terry. When he sees the unfinished essay on the screen, he smiles. The next morning, Ruby wakes to find someone has completed the essay for her. She thanks Terry, assuming it was him, but he brushes it off, saying that would be inappropriate, then winks at her. Later at school, Ruby is summoned by a social services investigator. She tells the agent about the strange things happening at home but worries she might get in trouble. The agent reassures her, saying Ruby can pretend not to know her and that this is only a routine check. A few days later, when the agent visits, the glasses are fully prepared. They've hidden the medications, set up separate bedrooms for Ruby and Rhett, and removed Rhett's video games. When asked what he does in the evenings, Rhett lies and says he reads. After the agent leaves the room, Ruby scolds him, and he replies that he learned it from her. In the trash, Ruby finds a letter from a private school, apologizing for the glasses' decision not to enroll the children and offering to refund the registration fee. She also finds a postcard from Uncle Jack, sent to check in and offer his phone number. Ruby rips off the number to save it. When she attempts to email Begleiter again, she learns that her AOL account has been deactivated. Meanwhile, Terry answers a call from the loan sharks demanding repayment. Ruby picks up another phone to eavesdrop but is nearly caught. Terry tells them he's found a new personal piggy bank. After he returns to bed, Ruby uses a phone code to trace the call's origin and save the number. At school, Ruby leaves class to use the payphone and contacts Begleiter. She tells him that she hasn't been able to email him because Terry hacked her account. Begleiter shares what he's uncovered. Terry's company owned the BMW her parents were driving the night of the accident. Ruby begins to suspect Terry orchestrated the crash, but before she can say more, her teacher arrives and takes her to the vice principal's office. There, she is accused of plagiarizing her essay, and they somehow know it's not her first offense. After speaking with the glasses, the vice principal informs Ruby that she might no longer be allowed to attend the school. Back at home, when Erin tries to discuss the matter, Ruby accuses Terry of orchestrating it. Terry, however, insists that she needs to start taking personal responsibility. At 4 a.m., Ruby decides to get out of bed and change out of her pajamas. After spotting a brochure for an all-girls boarding school in the living room, She attempts to call her Uncle Jack but only reaches his answering machine. Ruby hatches a plan. She takes Terry's car keys, wakes up her brother, and forces him to come along. Using the alarm code she memorized the day before, she disables the system and drives off, but the noise wakes Terry. At a police checkpoint, an officer becomes suspicious of her age and asks for her license and registration, which she doesn't have. The officer tells her to step out of the car, but the glasses soon arrive and take both children back home. During the ride, Ruby accuses Terry of murdering her parents for the inheritance. He denies it, though the accusation clearly rattles him. When they arrive, Ruby attempts to run, but Terry drags her back inside. He tells her they don't need her. Having Rhett alone is enough to access the trust fund. The situation escalates into a struggle until he pins her down. Aaron appears when Ruby calls out, but only to inject her with a sedative to knock her out. Meanwhile, Terry is contacted again by the loan sharks, but he fails to buy more time. The next day, in a desperate move, he meets with the trustee and claims he needs money to build a new facility for the children. But the trustee has received a fax containing the private school letter Ruby had found in the trash, which raises suspicion, leading him to deny Terry's request. At the hospital, Aaron is caught lying about patient dosages in order to acquire extra medication for her personal use. She's caught and ordered to report to the medical director. Later, back at the house, it's revealed that Ruby has been drugged all along, and Aaron is losing her medical license for stealing and abusing the same medications she used to keep Ruby sedated. We learn that Aaron only became an addict after Terry murdered the Bakers. The two argue about their problems. Terry tells Aaron they must minimize the fallout, as it's too late to undo what's been done. He says Ruby has to be eliminated. Since Aaron no longer has access to sedatives, Terry goes out to try and find more. One last hidden syringe remains in Aaron's possession. She retrieves it and comes across an old home video. Watching it, she sees herself and young Ruby playing on the beach. Racked with guilt, Aaron overdoses. The next morning, Ruby wakes up and finds her dead in bed beside her. Several hours later, Terry returns with morphine and discovers Aaron's lifeless body. He also hears Ruby on the phone, giving someone their address. She evades him by moving quietly and hiding with Rhett. Rhett attempts to leave through the front door, but Terry ambushes him, dragging him back inside. Ruby strikes Terry and runs off with Rhett, but Terry catches up, captures them, and locks them in the basement. While in the basement, the siblings notice a window and use a wrench they find to loosen the mesh covering it. Meanwhile, Terry is outside tampering with his Jaguar. The children watch through the window as he pulls the car out, parks it, and then returns to the house to pretend to sleep. Rhett seizes the opportunity, climbs out through the now open window, and grabs Terry's keys. As Rhett slips out, we discover Terry was never actually asleep. He had been pretending the whole time. Ruby becomes suspicious when she sees Terry calmly sitting on the couch as Rhett emerges from the basement. Then the doorbell rings. Terry ignores the phone, and Beglighter shows up in person. Ruby and Rhett hide behind a wall, watching as Terry opens the door. Beglighter informs Terry that an investigation is underway and that the bank has frozen his guardianship account. It's then revealed that Beglighter had been updating the glasses on Ruby's actions, thinking he could trust them because the Bakers had. Now, he realizes he may have been wrong. Suddenly, a red car pulls up outside. Two men, loan sharks, walk in, claiming they received a call from Terry's wife. But in reality, it was Ruby who contacted them. When the loan sharks demand the money, Terry claims he doesn't have it and shifts the blame onto Beglighter. As the lawyer tries to escape, one of the sharks stabs him. Terry assumes that will settle things, but the sharks refuse to leave. Instead, they decide to kidnap Terry and force him into the Jaguar. Ruby tells Rhett to stay put as she quietly slips outside. Terry tries to convince them to take the Volvo instead of the Jaguar, but when they get to the garage, they find the Volvo's tires have been slashed. As Terry begins to panic, the sharks silence him by taping his mouth shut. They then steal the red car and take Terry along in the Jaguar. It's revealed that Ruby was the one who slashed the tires, and she watches them leave while clutching a knife. While on the road, The Jaguar begins to malfunction due to brake failure, caused earlier by Terry himself when he tampered with the vehicle in the garage. The Jaguar crashes into the red car, which then slams into a truck. After swerving to avoid several other vehicles, the Jaguar spins out of control and crashes. Later, Ruby and Rhett are seen walking hand in hand down the street. A police officer stops and picks them up. As they drive, they pass the wreckage of the red car, where officers are already managing the scene. A little farther on, they come upon the site of the second crash. The officer pulls over and radios for assistance. He steps out to investigate, but Terry ambushes him and knocks him unconscious. When Terry finally finds the siblings, Ruby rushes to the driver's seat and frantically searches for the keys, while Terry retrieves a hidden gun. She manages to start the car, drives it forward, and then suddenly slams the brakes. As Ruby flashes back to her parents' crash, Rhett begins to panic. She tells him to buckle up, then does the same herself, before flooring the accelerator and ramming the car into Terry just as he is about to fire, killing him instantly. As more police arrive on the scene, Ruby and Rhett exit the vehicle and hug each other tightly. Later, the siblings visit their parents' graves with their Uncle Jack, who assures them that they are going to have a good life.